Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and it's your Sunday night delight this week. We were supposed to have recorded geek-span already, but due to technical issues on my part, Skip and I weren't able to record it on time. But I do have a ringer this week, a replacement. How you doing, Doc?
I'm great. How are you?
Man, I'm doing awesome. Happy Easter to everybody. I hope you're enjoying the celebration, enjoying the time with your families. I know we're all stuck in, but hopefully everyone makes the best of the situation, including you, Doc.
Yep. I'm heading out to visit my folks a little later. They only live about 20 miles away, so it's not really a big deal.
Well, it's a good thing that you're in Pennsylvania, not some other states, but I hope you do enjoy your time with your family, but I hope you're ready now for your comic industry news.
Oh, yeah.
All right, the Todd Fathers remastered Spawn action figure Kickstarter campaign hit $1 million within 48 hours of launch. Spawn sales are up. The Kickstarter is a huge success, and we know a movie is in the works. Is Spawn going to be the next big thing again?
I don't know if it's going to ever rekindle its early 90s love, like the kind of sales success, but you know what? Him hitting that 301 mark, all the covers for it, it got me buying Spawn again. I know a lot of other people that started buying Spawn again, leading up to 300 and then in the past couple of issues. So yeah, I think it might be, especially if that movie ends up actually getting made. And because Todd's been talking about this movie for like 15 years at this point, but he's got a script. He's got, Jamie Foxx signed on. I think it could be huge. I mean, you're already seeing there's obviously a demand for it. The action figure itself is showing that, there's a big demand, and that's only really tapping the toy fan market. And I'm not even a huge toy guy, and I bought one. I was hyped about it. I saw it. I'm like, this looks dope, and I'm in. And he's just blowing past any sort of industry expectation. There's a real demand. There's a hunger out there for. I mean, part of it's some of that early to or like 90s nostalgia, but the rest of it just looks dope.
Yeah, the Spawn comic book, people didn't quite realize it. It kind of bottomed out at around 9 or 10,000 issues, a month a couple of years ago. But then he brought in Sean Jason Alexander on art, and the story quality started kind of going up. And then he dropped the price from $4 an issue to $3 an issue, and the sales were climbing on the way up to 300. And of course, the numbers on 300 and 301 were astronomical, but it's sitting right now at 35,000. Obviously, that was before everything that happened. I don't know that it'll maintain that mark, with whatever the industry or the market looks like afterwards. But it was by far and away the best-selling indie comic on the market once The Walking Dead went away. So yeah, Spawn is hot right now, and that original movie from the 90s sucked. Like really bad. So hopefully the next movie hits really big. Jamie Foxx is a great actor, and I think it could be huge. And obviously there is a demand, and people love Todd McFarlane. He's great with fans. He's a great ambassador for the industry, and hopefully Marvel does some business with him. It'd only be smart. There's obviously a lot of interest. $100 or $1 million in 48 hours. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's not like he's stopping either. So my next question for you. Without any new comics, DC's YA offering, Gotham High, is getting plenty of attention. Most of it for all the wrong reasons. Is Gotham High another example of what's killing the comic industry? All
right, so this is a tough question. So it's kind of yes, but mostly no. So it is another indication, because the big wigs at DC are the ones that signed off on this, and this is what they wanted to put out there to the YA market. But Dan Didio's not in the equation anymore. What's the what are they going to be offering for the YA market, moving forward? I think will be a better indicator, because this is certainly, I know one of the reasons Didio is out is because the stories that he was or the stories that were coming out of DC Comics weren't matching up with what Warner Brothers wanted to put on the big screen with their characters, with Batman, Superman, and stuff like that. This certainly isn't anything Warner Brothers wants to put on the big screen for, Batman, or even on the small screen, with their cartoon. So in that respect, yeah, it is kind of what's wrong with the industry. But in a much bigger picture, no, not really. It's not really being marketed to comic readers. It's a YA thing. It's for a wholly different demographic. Will it be in comic shops? Yeah, if comic shop owners and managers ordered it, but that's certainly not who this is actually geared towards. So in that respect, they're going for a different audience. This is some crap that's not really devoted to me or not even intended for me. That's why I haven't really covered it on the channel. I thought about reviewing it for the channel just because there's no new comics, and I was like, why am I gonna be crapping on a YA graphic novel? I don't care about YA graphic novels, and they're not for me anyway. So kind of yes, but mostly no.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of inclined to agree with you there. It's the only, I think that the focus on it is merely because there's nothing else to focus on. If this was normal business as usual, this would have been forgotten to the annals of history faster than, Birds of Prey was in the movie theater. Nobody was going to care because this is not obviously targeted to the actual comic reader. It's targeted. This is basically just fanfic from some nobody. I mean, I don't even know who the hell these people are that created it. It's fanfic nonsense. Now, I think the only major issue that I have with it is that it was just getting promoted in mainstream DC books. The advertising for it was terrible and stupid. And it wasn't targeted towards the proper audience. So, but for the actual production of it, no, this is not really important. And if there was actually a Batman and Detective Comics issues coming out, nobody would have even bothered to notice it.
Exactly. Yeah, this is marketed poorly because there are advertisements in comic books for guys like us, but they should be marketing it for that YA audience. I don't know why they're even trying, because obviously we're not going to be interested. But in the annals of history, there's no Batman historian that's ever going to talk about Gotham High and its effects on the character, because no one gives a shit, because it basically might as well not even exist.
Yep.
Despite production halting, the Batman director, Matt Reeves, is hustling, getting the word out about his film. Recently, he explained the Batman will be grounded in present-day reality. Doc, does Gotham need to feel like it exists in our world?
No, that's the whole point. It's Chicago at night, but uglier. If you can actually get uglier than Chicago at night. This whole thing with needing to reflect too much of reality is of our world is what's been plaguing a lot of the DC movies ever since Zack Snyder did Man of Steel. Ever since they got rid of the trunks on the outside of Superman's costume. Everything about it didn't need to reflect our world. It didn't need to reflect modern sensibilities and real world sensibilities. No, you don't need a Batman that does that. Otherwise, you end up with, and even, as much as I like the Christopher Nolan Batman, you'd end up with a guy that's crippled in the first week of doing this job. That's what happens if you need it to really reflect the real world.
Yeah, you definitely hit the nail on the head. Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy exists. We already have this, and it basically ruined the launch of the DCEU when they tried to emulate that style with the Man of Steel, going into Batman versus Superman, going into Justice League, and it just spoiled everything. And it was an improper representation of the DC Comics universe. Trying to ground it in our reality basically takes all the fun out of it. It ruins the experience. It ruins the ambiance. Please stop DC, you got to stop doing this. Talk to Jeff Johns. Talk to him about what makes DC Comics and DC Comics universe special, because it's not that Gotham is the most disgusting, city in the world, and it's just like it should be in our society. Batman doesn't exist in the real world for a reason, because it would be weird. It would be nuts. It only exists, in a cool, contained comic or cinematic universe. You gotta separate it from the real world, because nobody wants to go in there for that crap. We want a nice, hopeful DC universe, and that's where they got it wrong. And that's why it didn't work with Zack Snyder. It felt like they got it kind of changed, with Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Shazam. It felt like it was going in the right direction, but it feels like maybe the success of Joker is pulling them all right back. Hopefully Birds of Prey, and it will be a dose of reality to get kind of back to what was starting to separate the DCEU and DC films, from the bunch, and be kind of special again, because God, stop grounding in reality. It's ruining the franchise.
Yeah, DC needs to be larger than life. Marvel needs to be grounded in reality. Stop trying to be what the other company is. So, Wes, Valiant Comics senior editor, Heather Antos, continues antagonizing customers on social media. Even while the publisher is announcing details for the upcoming Shadow Man, Ninja K, and Harbinger series. Do Heather's antics keep you from reading DC Comics?
Absolutely not. I could give two craps what Heather Antos has to say about anything. I think it's funny that she's antagonizing people, but she's not really important enough. She's not a writer, and she's never really been on a series of all that. No, she was on Star Wars, but Star Wars was, Marvel basically bungled Star Wars, and she was probably a huge part of that, because, as far as we know, or as far as you can tell just by what you read, she's not a very good editor. She probably isn't qualified to be an editor, certainly not a senior editor at any company. So I think it's kind of funny, but no, absolutely not. The reason I don't read Valiant Comics right now, which is my favorite, shared comic universe from 2012 to 2017, it was perfect. Araya is my favorite character. Exo Man of War is my second favorite character. Ninja K is among my favorite characters. All these, Shadow Man, Ninja K, Harbinger coming back. I should be excited about these. I could give two shits about it, because the quality at Valiant for the last 2-3 years has just been atrocious. And she has a lot to do with it. It's not her antics on social media that's the problem. It's her job performance. She was brought over to bring in new talent to Valiant Comics. Look at the new talent she's brought in. Cullen Bunn, Max Bemis, B. Clay Moore. Basically the dregs, the boneyards of the industry, of people that don't sell comic books. Yes, Dan Abnett came over, and so did Tim Seeley, and they certainly have more skills today and have a bigger following. But they both basically bungled the characters. They bungled, Dan Abnett's Rise sucks, and Tim Seeley's Bloodshot sucks. Bloodshot's a great, comic book if you don't read the words, because Brett Booth's art's amazing. So, and I think a lot of that has to do with the direction of the editorial team. And, she's a senior editor. Her job performance has been atrocious. It has nothing to do with her social media antics. It's all about how she performs her job. And that's why I'm not reading Valiant Comics, because the comics suck.
Well, I think I'll deviate from you a little bit on that. I think I do disagree on this one. Her antics do keep me from reading anything that with her name on it. If she was a competent senior editor, yeah, I mean, part of it has to do with her job performance. But at the same time, it doesn't give me any interest in giving Valiant a chance when the person that they have out there as kind of the face of the company right now is sitting there crapping on America, crapping on customers, crapping on anything. I could give some things a chance, even with her being a bad editor, because there's always the chance of somebody actually, in spite of her being good at their job that she brings in. It won't be because of her. It would definitely be in spite of her. But because of her antics, I won't even give them the opportunity to prove me wrong.
I am certain there are a lot of people that actually agree with you. I'm personally not going to let an editor's antics on social media keep me from a good comic book, but Fortunately, I don't have that problem because Valiant Comics doesn't have any good comic books today. All right, Doc. The long-awaited Top Gun sequel, Maverick, is the latest summer blockbuster delayed. Tom Cruise now dons a Navy flight suit once again on December 23rd in theaters. Is Christmas the right season for a Top Gun sequel?
No, no, it really, really isn't. Top Gun is absolutely a summer movie. I mean, come on, there's going to be beach volleyball scenes in it. You can't have a beach volleyball scene movie coming out at Christmas. It's just that simple.
Well, I gotta disagree with you. This is one of the sequels I've been waiting for my entire life. Top Gun was a huge deal when I was a kid. Tom Cruise was the biggest, movie star in the world. Nowadays, I won't really watch anything that he's in except for Mission Impossible and apparently Top Gun. I couldn't be more excited about this. And, I'm sure Paramount is wanting to get some money back from all this investment that they put in. There's no movies in the theaters. They're probably looking for a payday. And if it doesn't come out on Christmas, they're probably going to have to wait at least 4 more months before the next summer blockbuster season starts. So if they want a payday and they want to recuperate some of that money that they put out, Christmas is the only season that's left. Is it a perfect Christmas movie? Absolutely not. But I will watch a Top Gun sequel no matter what the season is because I'm so excited about it. But if they want to make the money back, they're going to have to do it, before the end of the year.
Okay, I could see it from that perspective, but I mean, from a viewer perspective, I guess it's better than having to wait another year for it. But at the same time, I feel like it's just wrong to have, a movie about being out in the sun, basically, being up in an airplane, being in the sun, playing beach volleyball and all that stuff coming out at Christmas. This is honestly, it should be like a Memorial Day movie, if anything. It's not even a 4th of July movie. This is a Memorial Day. This is going out and having a barbecue and that first bit of being out in the sun after being cooped up all winter, and you're going to leave and be like, I want to go play beach volleyball and barbecue, and it's Christmas.
I can see Doc, taking the shirt off, flexing for the camera as he spins a volleyball on his hand.
Exactly. And I can't do that at Christmas time. So, comic industry bad boy Rob Liefeld has thus far auctioned off over $24,000 worth of original art and is sending all of the proceeds to comic shops during the global crisis. What do you think about this, Wes? I mean, him and Jim Lee, but I think it's more Rob than anybody else. What do you think?
I think it's great. Rob Liefeld, he has he's outspoken, and some people don't like that he's outspoken, and he will say the things that are wrong about the industry, and he'll certainly say the things that are right about the industry. And if you talk to Rob, it's mostly the 90s, which is fine. But people like Rob Liefeld. He has a good personality. Even when he says stuff people don't like, the fans like him. And I think this is a great gesture. He's no longer the comic industry bad boy. He is the comic industry golden boy. He is doing what he can. He's taking things that he could. This money could be going directly in his pocket. I'm sure he has a family to support and stuff like that. He's taking money out of his pocket. He's giving it to local comic shops, trying to help them through this very bad time, this crisis that's affecting everybody. There are a few people out there. Jim Lee obviously is another one. I think he's doing 60 original pieces of art and auctioning them off for comic shops as well. But, Rob Liefeld is no longer the bad boy of comics. He is the golden boy of comics. He's doing what he can to help local comics survive. And I couldn't thank him enough. I already like Rob, but my esteem for Rob is just going up every day.
I feel the exact same way. I mean, Rob is opinionated. Rob is a little bit of a bad boy. He's always been very kind of set in his ways. But in a lot of ways, he's coming out, his gestures here are very Stan Lee-esque. And, if he would just let criticism roll off his back a little bit more, I legitimately think he could be that Stan Lee for this generation. But, Rob putting this money directly into the hands of local comic shops that right now can't run. And these pieces, I mean, DC announced their $250,000 or $100,000 or whatever the hell it was, their grant. Okay, their grant. And doing the math on it, it works out to about $150. Yeah, about $150 a comic shop. Whereas Rob, no, is he able to help every single shop? No, he's not. But you know what? The ones he is helping are getting a couple of grand. I mean, these pieces are not going cheap. They're original art from one of the living legends of the comic book industry right now. And he's putting that money directly into shop owners' hands at a time where they need it more than any other time in the history of the comic industry. And he's doing something big. And that's something that can't be understated. Nobody else is. I mean, yeah, Jim Lee's doing something nice, but there's a lot of other artists out there that you could look to right now and say, hey guys, you might be maybe you should try something like this. He's leading.
Well, and I don't want to undersell what DC Comics did. $250,000 is a large sum of money. I'm sure that DC, is strapped for cash right now as well. But they aren't picking stores, so you're imagining that it's going out kind of evenly. So it doesn't end up being a ton per store, but every penny helps. But a man is certainly defined by his actions rather than his words. And Rob's actions right here say that he's a good guy, and he certainly cares about the industry, and he's doing what he can to save it.
Yes. And that's very commendable. Thank you, Rob. You are doing yeoman's work out there.
Absolutely. We here at Thinking Critical certainly salute Rob Liefeld and what he's doing, and Jim Lee and what he's doing, and everyone out there trying to save local comic shops. They need the help right now, and every penny helps. And bravo to everyone that are going out above and beyond to go and try and save the industry. Doc, that will basically wrap up your second stint on the Geek-Span. I hope you enjoyed your time today. I had a great time. We didn't agree on everything, but I think the viewers are going to love it.
I thank you, sir, for letting me step in, and have a great Easter to everyone.
Yes. Happy Easter, everybody. Salamapo. And we're out.